All right, guys. I didn't even want to make an episode today. I don't know what it looks like to you guys, but I do have other things. Like sometimes I personally just want to sit around and watch some YouTube, watch other people work on cars on YouTube actually. And as you know, I'm divorced and I have 50-50 custody. And so I do have a few days here, there where I have neither child nor girlfriend. And these are kind of big car opportunity days. But I gotta say I'm really tired and I've been working a lot, designing the farm and equips. And I got out this morning. I'm feeling all good about the Cruiser. I've been driving it around, stuck the fancy new battery in it. Okay, with the fancy new stainless steel mount, everything's great. I got the new power steering pump. I'm like, man, I'm good to go. I got the carburetor, I took all this stuff off and I tightened up these gaskets on this Weber carburetor and I turned down the fuel pressure to this absurdly, so I'm feeling all smart because it doesn't reek like gasoline and I've got it running kind of sensibly and it's all like good and I patched up all the rust holes. And wouldn't you know it, I'm going into the office this morning. I pull the thing out to the driveway to warm up and there's a goddamn coolant leak. Like not just a drip, like a coolant leak. And so I'm like, oh God, I'm just trying to enjoy a cup of coffee or three. And I look under there and like the only piece of rubber that I have not replaced on the car, this God-forsaken little tiny hose, like 4-inch long little tiny hose right there with that geriatric antiquated style of hose clamp on it. It's just pouring out of there, okay? Which of course, these old clamps, like you gotta take all the new belts. I just put new belts. I just got this hardware actually looking nice right here, the tensioning hardware on the alternator. I just got the correct size belts. This previous dude out in California who owned this thing before, like the power steering never worked right. And I'm always like, all right, finally I'm gonna dig into it because the power steering both leaked and didn't develop pressure. I take the belt off. It's like a lawnmower belt. It's like something you would drive the blades with on a chintzy Home Depot lawnmower. And that's the belt you put on, okay? And I hope this guy watches this. Shame. I don't care if you don't have a ton of money, obviously. I think you can do good work without necessarily a ton of money. I think it's expensive to do things crappy. And this guy, like, it was so disrespected, like, this thing. And there was, look at this oil change sticker right here. So this guy had the oil changed on Melrose Avenue in Los Angeles, California in February 1st of 2025. And you put 5W30 in it? What the fuck? 5W30? This thing's a goddamn tractor. Put 10, minimum 10, probably, it's got 200 and God knows how many thousand miles on it. Put 15 weight in it, And it's just that, I hate to say it, all right? Some of this, like, Southern California bullshit where you're worrying about painting the car a color and this and that. When the thing leaks, there's nothing on the car that didn't leak, okay? And you know what I've done? I've basically made peace with the fact that I'm going to replace everything that's rubber on the car. And this was one of, there's a couple other hoses here still that I'm just going to replace them at the same time. Some of these other heater hoses. And I'm also moving this, I'm going to, at the same time, I'm just going to clean up the mounting of this relay. I think I'm going to, perfect this car, then probably, I don't know, who knows. I do like driving it, but I might sell it on. I'm just frustrated right now. So I'm going to replace this rubber, and I'm also going to clean up a couple other things. Let me show you here. Oh, let me this quality paint job. It's like touching your wife's loins. God, no, I don't need to be fragile with it. Just get on there. This thing needs to run. This is a working truck. This is a workhorse. You need to, it's not a fucking, what do they call them? So here's what I'm gonna do. It always annoys me that this hose now kind of, to connect from the oil cooler down to, and then it goes up to the heater through this T, some plastic T. Now that I'm looking at that, that looks like fucking bullshit too. It goes right over the top and it kind of makes an ugly, stupid installation of this distributor, so nothing's stock here. So I'm actually gonna cut this off right here and try and get this coolant hose going over here, get some better looking kind of slack in it, then put a longer hose right here. And I think we're just gonna do the fan clutch on this while I have this out, because it's terrible anyways. Like, it just doesn't move freely at all, and incredible amount of friction in there. It's totally worn out, and that's robbing a bunch of power, and actually as the weather gets colder, it's making the car run too cold. And yeah, one thing after another. I do have other things I want to do with my life sometimes, but that being said, I haven't been drinking much red wine, and really at all. And when you don't drink red wine or drink beer, you actually have a lot of free time on your hands. And you realize how much time you were spending, drinking beer. And it's very similar, actually. I actually smoked cigarettes for a decade and a half, Camels. And at one point I smoked nearly a pack a day. And I always thought that I wouldn't be able to work, like my creative process designing, I wouldn't be able to work without cigarettes, because there was always that cycle of like, do some work, smoke a cigarette, do some work, smoke a cigarette. And it turned out when I quit that I really was just addicted to nicotine. And I actually was vastly more productive at work. And so, drinking a lot less. I'm not getting any younger. A lot of times I don't enjoy it. I like to sleep really well. I'm a morning guy. I like to wake up feeling very refreshed. That's when I do my best work in CAD. And I don't really miss the drinking as much as I thought I would. And the remarkable thing, in like 3 weeks, I've already lost 6 pounds. But anyways, without further ado, let's get this hose off. These are those really old school hose clamps. Who knows? Come on, baby. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. Sometimes the ratchet just doesn't do it on the frozen stuff. That was not on there all that tight, I must say. That's the hose clamp right there. This little bit of hose going from the water pump right here right over to this other metal tube. So, yeah. All right. Now, on the other end, where's my special tool? On the other end, we'll take the special Ideal Triton Flexi hose clamp tool, where you can go like boom, 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 and then on the end, you can take it and you got small hose clamp, big hose clamp. That's like, this is just an important thing for anyone to have. That's a good tool right there. I buy a lot of bullshit, but so you can come on in here, get on that clamp right there, and it lets you kind of accommodate the space that you have available. Now that wasn't on very tight, that's for sure, but we're not going in here without putting new rubber on this. Joe doesn't like the rubbers for sure, but in this instance we're gonna put a fresh one on. This is my favorite thing these days. The big old punch with the lead hammer. I love, lead is so bad, but sometimes it's so good. Oftentimes things that are bad, they can also be good for you. Bad for your soul, good for your desires. Oh, don't make me loosen you more. All right, hold on. It just has the mass and it's soft. It doesn't, damage stuff, but it has that weight, the heft, but just don't go licking it, right? That's the key. You don't want to end up like the boys from you don't want to end up like Van Gogh or the boys from the Antarctic expeditions, where they just go crazy. Just sit around in their garages, working on old cars because they're just too crazy from all the lead. All right. What a bunch of fucking bullshit. Oh, God. I will say that I do believe in what's called a fated breakdown, where sometimes your car will break in the driveway or garage, and it's actually a blessing. It's a sign of extremely good fortune to have your car break in the driveway, because it means that the universe is saving you from a breakdown somewhere much farther away. And that's why you should welcome that. As much as I'm complaining right now, oh no, come on. You do have to welcome the garage breakdown. I've just taken coolant down my sleeve. Look at this old school hose clamp. You don't see that very often. I'm gonna save myself some heartache. We're just gonna change this hose too, same time. Because of course, somebody came in here at some point and replaced like one hose, but because you wouldn't just go and replace all of them, of course not. Now I dare say this is an original hose with an original clamp from 1983 that has never been off, never been replaced. If it's not broken, don't fix it, man. Don't fix it. Just give yourself a puncture wound because wow, look at that plating on there. Because you haven't had that tetanus shot for a while, since you were maybe 8. You think if I give this a yank, it's just gonna come off here? Splattering coolant all over me? Gonna have to get that tool in. Oh, here we come. I don't have time to fuck around, guys. Sometimes this is like fun, haha, laugh, laugh. Sometimes this is some stuff I just gotta get done. At the hose. My God. Okay, so was this hose clamp even tight? Let's go take a look at that. Get my goddamn Chinesium heat shrink out of the way. You know what? Heat shrink is one thing I'm cool with letting the Chinese do. The Chinese can do the heat shrink. That's cool. It's good. It's all good, China. Just do the heat shrink. But here we go. All right. Get that super capacitor out of the way. So this thing right here, what is even going on here? One of the keys of auto mechanicking is to have 1,000 pairs of pliers, but only use one pair because it's sitting right next to you for everything. Okay, what's going on here? So let's hit this with some Croy. Boom. Whew. Makes you smell good. The ladies like the way that stuff smells too. That's the man cologne. Too fast. Whoa, too fast. Where's my squeeze bottle anyways? All right, but that stuff will do it. Ooh, does it smell too. All right, which way do you loosen it? Which way's loose? Which way's tight? Oh, man. Boy, doesn't that free it up, though. Gosh darn it. But we got to go the other way. Gosh darn it. Boy, a little Croyle really does the trickaroo on that, doesn't it? Sure does. Am I tightening it or loosening it? I am loosening this. Come on, baby. This is a... What a hellacious hose clamp to get off. Oh my God. Woo. We got some corrosion built up right here. Man, that's been on there a while, hasn't it? God damn. Let's hit it with some, oh, I happen to have some Scotch-Brite. Brought to you by the people that brought you Velcro. They were like, they had some Velcro, and then some dude like rubbed something with some Velcro and was like, man, check that shit out. And he was like, I smell a product. Boom, $1 billion later. But I'll tell you what, when I was doing my apprenticeship as a machinist at the Departamento of Physics, I used to love, that's when I developed some real affection for the old Scotch-Brite, because when you're machining aluminum, you can just, it's almost like grinding it. It just gives yourself such a beautiful finish with different Scotch-Brites, and they got different ones too. So I've got these sitting here, waiting to go back to the other garage. But wouldn't you know it if they also have the larger diameter tripod bearing too. But at least I'll be able to break this down, put the new CV joint on the longer one. I'll probably transfer the existing tripod bearing because I think it's okay over to these when I refinish them, but I don't know. And then at some point in the future, I'm probably gonna just convert the green turbo car over to the later style, I don't know, the later style tripod, bigger tripod bearing. I don't know if I've mentioned yet, but of course on the white car, fucking brake switch on the brake pedal has failed, and so I need to, at night I need to turn on my tail lights. Problem solved. I'm going on break. You know how I was saying that I made the Cruiser not reek like gasoline? But this car, whew, man, this car is reeking like gasoline, and I gotta say, I'm not totally sure why. I don't think it's running super rich. Like, the fuel economy is awesome. It's exactly where I would expect it to be. I don't have anything visibly leaking. The only thing I can think of is that maybe a gasket on the fuel distributor, but I don't know. This car is so reliable. My most reliable car. I've decided to name the white Saab Bianca. Ese es mi amor, Bianca. Nadie te conoces como yo. An 8-valve Saab, when you get it tuned up and pull off the catalyst and put a well-tuned exhaust on it, man, it's not lacking for get up and go, that's for sure. C'est la vie. I think this piece is going to give me both some curves of different radii and a straight, depending on what direction I want to go in order to relieve the stress on the... So part of the problem with this is that, you know, it kind of naturally wants to be at a curve, and somebody's putting the straight section on a curve. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use kind of part of this angle on this other hose that I got to make it have a more natural flow to it. Let's kind of do this right here. I don't know. start off kind of like this. Alright, we'll cut it like that to start. Alright, let's take some of this Gates safety stripe heater hose, which is made in Mexico, but I'd rather have that than some of the other stuff. And let's go ahead and replace this other piece that's been on here. Okay. What kind of hose clamp is this? Hose clamps are one of those things that I'm really I'm a stickler about, because they've gotten so cheap. So you'll notice right here, these ones that I have are Ideal Trident, same brand as that tool. Now these are not the best ones. On the green Saab, I've actually ordered a bunch of really special hose clamps to use on that, but these ones are adequate, you know, compared to the AutoZone type that are out there. This little tang right here was used for something that has long since been removed from the car, so I'm going to go ahead and just gently cut this off. You know, I think the reality of what's happening here is that I'm rebuilding the entire car, and that simply was not what I'd intended. It's nothing wrong with it, but I had not planned on that because, okay, obviously the guy in California who sold this to me on Bring a Trailer, okay? Misrepresented. Terribly misrepresented. Fine, whatever, I'm a big boy. You know, I bought it, I don't complain. But he ships it to Wisconsin and lists it with this place, Geneva Motor Cars, on consignment. And it's Geneva Motor Cars that I actually have the beef with, because they sell tons and tons of cars on Bring a Trailer. They knew this car was misrepresented. So fuck you, Geneva Motor Cars. And when I showed up there to pick up the car, the guy was like, okay. He's like, he's on pins and needles. I'm done. You know what? You get to do that to me one time. I buy and sell a lot of cars. I'm never gonna buy another car from you again, Geneva Motor Cars. A automotive restoration side hobby, and they're just trying to buy a car. Okay, so the point I'm making to you is, if you're that person, if you're not doing this, if you're not able or willing to take a car apart and fix it and deal with whatever comes, I would say don't buy on Bring a Trailer, don't buy on the internet, because you know it's just too risky. Oh no. This is why I like to just basically keep kind of a bed of oil dry around on the floor at all times, because you never know when you're going to need a little oil dry down there. Looks like there was some additional coolant. So here's the deal. There's this other hose which goes down, this one that was connected to the water pump, which goes down to the oil cooler, which has this like splice thing in it. And I don't know if the way that this is cut right here leads me to believe, I don't know. I don't think that's an original Toyota part. Call me crazy, but yeah, we're gonna pull that off and maybe try and do something with that. See, this thing is pretty sweet, this new Milwaukee Rapid Charger. It's magnetic. You can stick it either vertically on a toolbox or upside down like this. It's got a little LED light integrated into it. It's got a USB-C integrated into it. Awesome. Does M12 and M18. It's a highly recommend. So we're going to replace this thing with 4 clamps with one single hose with 2 clamps, you know. This right here, that's a grenade about to go off in your hand right there. This, like that. Okay, let's see if this fits, all right? So we're gonna come in down over there. And we're gonna see if we can get a nice flowing curve without kinking the hose going down to this oil cooler right here, okay? And then we'll put the other piece on and we'll see if... Okay, so that was insanity. We've got this all connected. Let me show you from under here the fix that I did. Mostly, so there's a record of it for later. Came in. The hose that's going from the water pump down to the oil cooler, I kind of routed a little differently than it had been before. I think it's a little bit bigger radius. Now, all this stuff is stationary. All of it is, the only thing that's really flexible where the engine is vibrating relative to the frame is right here at the radiator. All this other stuff is moving with respect to each other. So it doesn't really bother me that the components are touching because they should all be moving. They're all gonna be vibrating essentially in unison. I mean, we wanna keep them away from the alternator and the air conditioning compartment. Now I'm gonna try and do something about this monstrosity right here. What I'm gonna do is make the hose that comes from here up to this T and this one that goes to this T also longer, so I can kind of get this coming back here and get it out of the way of the distributor. Just kind of play it safe for now. All right, let's just do, here's what we're gonna do. Let's get this. Let's actually route this behind the valve for the heater control. And I love how the car that you felt was like ready to drive around the world like one day ago is completely disassembled again. That's always heartening. Alright, let's just cable tie this. Now if I kind of come over to here with this hose, I think that'll be okay. Can I get, yeah, and then we'll maybe go under this other hose to give myself, you know, just a little bit more clearance. Okay, you know what? I'm going for it. I'm frickin' closing the garage door because I think somehow the neighbors don't love the idea of a cutoff tool going off at 9 o'clock at night, but nonetheless, here we go. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm going back to square one. This one is the only one I haven't done anything about, and that's gonna come off. Now, let's do this. Let's get this. Okay, right. Okay, now, let's start. Okay, now, let's get this. Now, I'm gonna go over here. Next, move. And I'm gonna go take this. And now, you go. Where's the go? Now, over here. I can just get this. I need the person. So, no. Okay, here we go. Back on there. Then we go here. Okay, right? Looking up there, see now here. Okay. And now I can do this. I can come right in and I can grab this because I don't want to bump the dipstick. I want to feel like I want to get an accurate reading when I check that oil. Okay. So now I've gotten everything out of the way. This, I still don't like this. Okay. This looks janky, but I don't know. I just didn't want to rub on this valve over here that's going to move up and down. You know, I don't want to have that hose sitting back there rubbing on that metal. You know, and this motor is vibrating, so I kind of want to give it some ability to do that. I don't know. Maybe I could have come back. Yeah, that's not bad if I come over here and kind of tie that like that. That's not too bad right there, actually. Maybe I'll do that. Hold on. That I think is kind of an optimal arrangement right here, because the motor can vibrate like this, and so I've got the flexibility in this hose to let it vibrate. These other ones are pretty stationary. That one connects down there. It's got a lot of length to isolate that vibration. That one goes over to the heater core. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better about this. Maybe this was a blessing in disguise. Okay. All right, boys and girls. So it's a new day. Had to trim the beard just got so itchy, you know? Sometimes I feel like I need to exfoliate under that, like, you know, stubble a little bit, but there's a lot of other things on my mind, that's for sure. What with this government shutdown and everything, boy, sweating bullets on that one. Made an offer on a property on Washington Island, and the sellers came back asking for more money, and honestly, I don't feel like chasing people around in this market. I mean, it's beautiful property. There aren't that many like that to buy, but you know what? I don't think I'm going to chase after that. Anywho, all right. So where we left off last night, we had all of these hoses kind of organized as best as we can. Off camera, I was talking to the girlfriend, and while I was doing that, I soldered on all of the connectors on this relay, which I hope I got in the right place, and now I've mounted that on there instead of, I used to have that mounted down there. It was kind of a stupid location. Hopefully this is the last time I screw with the relay and the distributor and all that system. So I soldered new wires together to go up here, and I hard soldered all of the wires to this relay. I hate those little, you know, bayonet connectors. I think they're very unreliable. So now I'm waiting on a new fan clutch from Cruiser Core, and I need to drive my car, and I want to make sure this thing works and doesn't leak with all the hoses. So even though the part's not going to be here until Tuesday, I'm going to put the thing back together as is because I want to drive it, check for leaks, make sure it all works so that I don't, you know, if I have to get it back apart for some demoralizing reason, then, you know, I'll do that. A lot of things happening. Also, finally, they're going to deliver the hydraulic press to the other garage on Monday. So I think when we get into next week, there's going to be some big moves happening with the Green Stop 900 restoration. I went to Napa today and bought the nicest quality hose clamps that are available at a Napa to replace a bunch of the ones on this car, just because I couldn't bear to look at them. Some of these fan clutches, I know Mercedes ones are that way, but you can actually refill them with oil. Now I'm thinking, like, can I take this apart and refill it with oil, or is this going to be serviced totally unserviceable? See that there's a bunch of screws holding it together anyways. I don't know. I've already ordered one. I've got it coming, so I'm not going to take it apart. But yeah, I mean, the problem with this is just that the amount of friction in this state, the cold state, is way too high, obviously. So way too much power is being dissipated into the fan when it doesn't need to be. So let's see. Oh, why did I put that hose back on there? Probably shouldn't have done that yet. This would be the exact time when you would want one of those tight reach clamps, those little gripper clamps that I have at the other garage. But, of course, I don't have them here, so I'm using a magnet instead. You know, it's kind of interesting, but, you know, I sell some farm equipment actually over in Ukraine. And I was on the phone with a guy I've worked with for years and years and years from a distributor over there. And he was, you know, we got to talking about, you know, the war, as we always do, and whatnot. And he's talking about just how, he's like, this war, this drone war that's going on right now, this is worse than nuclear war. We'd rather have nuclear war than this drone war. This drone war has the capacity to terrorize people in this new, truly, truly awful way. And he was saying that, you know, I was like, well, how do you farm in a situation like this? And he's like, well, you know, a lot of times the farmers have to have one of these anti-drone devices that the military issues because the Russians have started targeting tractors and combines in the field with drones. The Russians are targeting machines in the field that increasingly, am I missing a lock washer here? Increasingly, the farmers are actually using first-person robotics, right? So they'll have a camera, they'll almost turn the tractor. They're not using commercially available automation a lot of times, but they're using these kind of almost hobby-type drone equipment where you turn the tractor into a first-person viewer system and then operate it remotely with a remote control so that you're still manually controlling the tractor or the harvester, but you're doing it from outside, you know, presumably in a safer location. You know what's an amazing thing to have in a car is to have your setup correct, where the belt lengths are correct and the adjustments are correct, so you can both get belts easily on and off. Seems simple, but actually is often very hard to do. Shit, I forgot to call Hagerty and set up my new car, which is being, I think it's in transport right now. Yeah, I need to set up, I think I can just do it online and add a car online with Hagerty. Man, Hagerty saves me so much money. I used to go with USAA, who I bank with. I was spending like, God, I don't even know how much I was spending on insurance, but then I switched to Hagerty and I saved thousands of dollars a year. So I got to get them set up. The guy who's trucking it says he has insurance, but you know, that and a nickel will buy you a cup of coffee. The guy I bought the car from is he's like of course it's in California, so many good cars come from California. He's like a Ferrari collector in California. And the car was actually represented. I dealt with his mechanic, Bruce, who's like 70 years old. I got to talking with him. He's like, you know, Joe, I used to be in the finance industry selling stocks and bonds, and I got out of that, and now I do this, and I'm an expert in fixing people's old Ferraris. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a bad line of work now, does it, Bruce? Maybe old Joe could do something like that one day. And he was like, well, here's the thing about Ferraris. The people that own them have lots of money, and they don't need their cars very quick either. So it's a good line of work. And I was like, huh, maybe when I do some sort of quasi-retirement, I'll go and fix people's, like, fix cars for people. Because, you know what? The kind of stuff that I do, it seems like anybody could do this, but I don't think that many people do. And these guys that are like mechanics today, they're all CAN bus mechanics. All right, let's think about this. Oh, wait, we need coolant. We have belts on, we've tightened stuff up. Just go back to some of the older videos and look at the way this engine compartment used to look, okay? So clean and simple and organized. These are for the relays for the headlights, the new upgraded OEM Toyota headlights. Oh my God, it's so much simpler. Let's get some coolant in. We actually drove the 300 TD over, gave it a little exercise today. Picked up a few of the Napa extended life antifreeze. This cruiser, I'm not putting the fancy AMSOIL shit in here. It's not that it doesn't deserve it, I don't know. It's like, first of all, it needs to get reliable to the point where I'm not, you know, draining it out every other day. So let's do that. I think this is gonna take a couple of these, but I really drained it this time. The guy over at the Napa, who's like, I see him more than my ex-wife. He's like, yeah, they make this stuff to be kind of universal for a variety of different, this extended life stuff. They make it universal for a variety of different engine uses, which really with coolant, you're talking about material compatibilities, aluminum, magnesium, steel, iron, so on and so forth. Yes, honey. Hey, I'm making some white lithium Euro trash right now. Okay, cool. You're walking? Does she have her bike here? No. Okay. Okay. There's one. God, isn't the country just being run by the biggest bunch of clowns these days? Like, there used to be intellectual heavyweights in American government. It's like now it's just become, we're in the era of anti-intellectualism. It's a shame just to see the country getting flushed down the tubes. I mean, in one sense, you know, I'm really a buy American guy. I own a company. We build things in this country. I believe in manufacturing things in this country. But in one sense, I think American consumers need to change. Stop buying a bunch of junk. Buy a smaller number of higher quality things. And I don't think we necessarily need to blame China. I think we need to blame the idea that we've gotten into this throwaway, junkified culture where you buy some object that has, you know, some limited value proposition, and then when you use up that limited value proposition, you discard it and throw it into the ground, and that is the accepted mode of thinking that we have now. And how do you undo that? Well, you undo that by hitting rock bottom. Like, we're addicted to cheap consumer junk, and eventually it will not work anymore. Oh, and we will hit rock bottom as a society, and we'll be forced to change. And people will decide they want to live lives where they're more focused on love and relationships and the time they spend with other people than they are on buying more things. And you know what? This will start to look more like Europe. We already have 2 full gallons in there. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Hopefully it starts if I got everything wired up to that relay correctly. And we'll just circulate this coolant for a sec. Let's see, please start. Oh, come on, baby. If it turns over. Oh, good. Wow, that is quiet. That thing runs smooth, doesn't it? I'm gonna be listing some cars on Bring a Trailer. You want a car that was owned by me. I will never sell bullshit. It would break my spirit. You know, I might mess up, I might accidentally overlook something, but I will never deliberately try and parlay bullshit. We gotta get this heater valve on, get that all opened up. Okay, heat. That'll open up that valve over there. When we squeeze that thing, it squeezes this right here. All right, we ran it for a minute. It has 2 full gallons in it right now. Let's see if it'll take any more. I would vacuum bleed this, but you know, I lost my good compressor in the divorce, and I've got a good compressor at the other home in Milwaukee, but I just have kind of a Milwaukee cordless compressor here because they're expensive, and I cannot bring myself to buy a junky Harbor Freight compressor. I just can't do it. I've got an Ingersoll Rand one up in Milwaukee, and oh, we're taking quite a bit here. Like summer, well, we just put another full gallon into this, and all of a sudden you get into late summer, and all of a sudden everything started selling on a real estate level, and I told her, I was like, boy, I know exactly why that is, and it's called the big beautiful bill. There's 3.5 gallons. Now let's let it get really warm and let's leak check it. The question is really, how quickly will I know if I've got a perfectly leak-free system? Crazy, I'm gonna put the microphone up to it. You hear that? You can hear the water sloshing through the heating system as it's purging out. All right, I think I'm getting it purged through. Good. All my gauges are nominal. Pretty strong. Doesn't look like I'm leaking anything, so that's promising. Well, so it turns out I think I had that fuel pressure regulator a little too throttled down, and I think I have killed the fuel pump. I don't think very many of you guys travel with a spare electric fuel pump, but I gotta say, I am over this cruiser. So for now, the jankified electric fuel pump that I rigged up is holding. Driving back at 35 miles an hour. And I'm sitting here reflecting like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, do I want this? Am I choosing this? I'm not choosing to have it break down. But like, what just happened? What just happened here is that the mechanical fuel pump is a diaphragm fuel pump, okay? Of course, it doesn't have the original Toyota carburetor. It has a Weber Italian carburetor on it. And then to keep from pushing the gaskets out of the carburetor, you have to put a fuel pressure regulator. Well, I wanted the thing to not smell like fuel and run so rich, so obviously I put on that fuel regulator, which I then dialed down. And so I dialed down to the point where it ran great and it didn't smell like fuel, but it must have built up too much back pressure on the diaphragm in the pump, causing it to fail. And I'm like, my God, so now I need to think about like, on the Manna-Free website, it said run it at 2.5. I was running it at 1, or, you know, I don't know. It's just madness. Madness. This thing was acting like it was about to catch on fire, but I'm telling you guys, this is a reason to keep a decent relationship with your ex-wife for situations just like this. Yeah, no, it's a video. I'm finishing this one up. So, you know, here's what I rigged up right here. I just took this electric fuel pump that I carry with in the back. We came back, you know, this was the ex-wife appreciation series.
Yes, and I bravely got in that car and steered the wheel off the road.
Because honestly,
by the car. I'm a lifesaver.
I don't know what we were gonna do. So basically, I travel with that I had that electric fuel pump in the back from the previous failed electric fuel pump. Okay, so the ex came pick me up. We went back to the shop. I soldered on more wires, ran it directly to the battery, just took the hoses off the mechanical fuel pump right here, which was right there, took the hose off over here, set the electric fuel pump right there. But here's the culprit, okay? Trying to run it too lean so it didn't smell like gas, I had this thing turned down too low. And that mechanical fuel pump on this cruiser it's like it's not, it doesn't want to be that orifice and run all that flow over return back. So it must have failed the diaphragm in there. So, hey, now we know. And so guys, I got to go to bed. Peace out. Thank you for making it through this exhausting, emotionally exhausting episode.